Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July edition of the Finance and Infrastructure Standing Committee meeting. Welcome to live streamers. Thank you for taking time out of your day to tune into this exciting meeting. First up, everyone's present, which is awesome. Thank you. No apologies. Do we have anyone that needs a leave of absence? No? All right. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. They are there from the 11th of June. I'll just actually have a quick look at those, councillors. Is somebody happy to receive those minutes? Move Councillor Nixon, seconded Councillor Brundletone. A couple of minutes to have a quick look at those. Anything you're worried about before we put that?
Just that one there with the flood access in the panorama. Oh, just it doesn't seem to show up in action, so I just thought we might.
That resolution.
Yeah, so can we put it forward to an action? Sure. Thank you.
Right, so we're going to move on a second. Is anyone in favour of those minutes? Seems to be unanimous. Carried. Thank you. So business arising in the minutes, I take that as business, Councillor Nixon. We can just get that. Make sure that goes into one of the actions, that general business item in relation to the flood approach, accessibility in the Common River and Canal Creek. Any other business arising, councillors, out of those minutes? Mostly departmental updates. If not, we'll move right on. Review of outstanding meeting actions. Short and sharp, you'll say, councillors. Anything anyone wants to raise in relation to that list? All right, we'll keep on. It's going to be a record today, councillors. We keep this up. Review of upcoming meeting agenda items. Okay, there's a few things there at the moment, but hopefully we can populate that a little more as we go along. Anything anyone's had in mind that we need to be discussing, feel like you'd like to bring forward a bit more of an urgent item? I know we did talk about a couple of things yesterday. Yeah. Which I think will eventually flow down into some of our committee meetings. Yeah.
So, Chair, do you want to put it on the agenda for prioritisation of roads again? But I know we have a prioritisation of roads, but if you want to put this as an action item for this?
Through the chair, apologies, I wasn't here yesterday, so we're talking council roads or strategic roads?
Plus both, sorry.
Yeah, both. I think just was discussed initially in relation to advocacy, you know, what are our council priorities, whether it be a state-owned asset or a council road, where, you know, again, had some success with the Springfield TMO road. Actually, we've had a lot of success on some of those, what we call critical internal link roads and others. So I guess, you know, I think we just talked yesterday, it's been a while since we've sort of had an opportunity to sort of refresh that list in terms of, you know, what are council's collective priorities. So maybe it's better when we come to strategy first, which, and if something comes in that as well, you know, might do it through it.
Yeah, and through the chair, Kim Downey and myself are also working on a bit of a hierarchy review of our own roads and looking at the Capricorn Municipal Design Guidelines and how they fit with our roads. We're hoping to workshop that late August, so that'll probably feed into some of that discussion as well.
Great.
Once that report's finished.
No, that's really good, Jess. Thank you.
Through the chair, can I just ask a question about the
implementation of the footpath, trip hazard, adherence and intervention levels. I see that report's deferred. Is there any sort of timeframe around when we're looking at actually having that on the agenda?
It's been deferred since February, I see. You're right,
Yep.
and on that one, is it?
No, through Jan, that's, I could probably bring that to council in August. That's, was working with Margaret's team with the asset management plans, and identifying defects and stuff like that. So that's probably ready to bring the council. I can make sure that gets to the August.
Good,
Fisc.
that's great, thank you very much.
There we go, thank you. Anything else there, councillors? But, like we always say, if there's something to think of outside of this forum, please let us know. Moving right into information reports, councillors, the first one up is customer and commercial services, and Solomon doing a great job of filling in for GM Michelle Webster. Are you happy to lead us through agenda item number 1 in relation to Airport Advisory Committee meeting minutes from June?
Material of personal interest.
Oh, did I miss that? I just ticked it. I said, no, I'm not here. Councillors, has anybody got any material of personal interest? No. As I thought. Anyway, good to have a good chat. Thank you, Councillor Middleton. So Solomon was a false start there, but looks like you're back there.
Thanks. Good morning, councillors. We had the Airport Advisory Committee meeting. That's a quarterly meeting, and it brings together a number of stakeholders around the airport. That meeting occurred on the 3rd of June. We included the minutes of that meeting in the item. In short, there were no outstanding work health and safety issues. All the security compliance issues have been dealt with. There's no outstandings, and Council may remember that we had audits from the department earlier, and we changed some of our procedures around that, additional training for staff. So those items have all been dealt with. There's no outstandings. Council may also remember that we had in December safety audits from CASA. Those highlighted a number of issues. So that was audits from 2015 to 2018, and we went back and we fixed all of those and changed processes and procedures where needed. So there's no outstandings from that audit either. In terms of a financial update, the financial update Council received today will be younger or more recent than this one, so I'll gloss over this. We had a skills audit done on all the AROs on the airport. We got an independent party in that engaged in training AROs. They went out with our people, observed them doing their work, asked them questions, and they concluded that our people are all operating safely and operating at the standard. So we reported that back to the committee also. From a infrastructure safety point of view, we reported back that as the infrastructure ages and wear and tear, we do sometimes have to do maintenance. All of those maintenance items are up to date, and there's no outstanding items on that, so that was a good thing to report back. We did, however, note that the fire audit, the audit of the fire systems at the airport is still ongoing. We are hoping that that could be done within the next, say, month and a half or so, so that at that point we can consider the replies and the report back to council with a plan going forward. The car park we reported back to the committee was still needing a lot of interaction with and maintenance. At the time of the meeting, we had a $400,000 budget request in. post the meeting, that budget request did not come through, so we're looking at other options as we speak. Then we reported back on the Ralston and the Springshire works, and council would know that that all went off, and we completed that. The engineers are just busy making sure that everything that was supposed to be done was done to the correct standard. That was good news too. And then what we did was we put to the advisory committee the concept plan for the terminal works we have to do to accommodate the new screening equipment and fix a couple of the other issues around that infrastructure. And the committee generally was happy with that, and we're taking that forward. In a future council meeting, we will put that to council. That is the short version. I'm happy to take any questions. It's all there in the
Councillor Roll.
Simon, you talk about the 1530 runway with the gravel at the end.
Yes.
Why couldn't we seal the end of that runway while you've got I'd imagine the bitumen truck there?
Plants there. That's a very good question, and it's something that we did consider at the time. The big issue is cost and where would the money come from. That runway is not producing any income. Councillor is right in saying that it would be cheaper to do it while the contractor's there and the actual plant is there and all of that. There'll be a bit of earth moving works we need to do to just prepare it and then put the seal over, and then of course we have to fix the strip, the dirt bit next to it that is also still not compliant. So, but that's with enough money and time, that is definitely doable. Yes, it wasn't included in the scope of works of this work, but we can, if council do feel strongly about it, there is the opportunity for variations to that contract. I just need a little bit more planning.
I just see that the airport is a vital part of our transport system, and I do see that the airport needs to maintain it up, to keep its upgrades going, because it is such an important part of our freight and transport network. So, yeah, I should have thought about it 6 months ago in the budget or something, should I?
No, I'd say councillors, we did consider it, and as council would know, on the 27th of November when I came here and basically requested council to consider and providing me with funding amount much larger than at that point on the table. And council was very generous and afforded us the additional money. At that point, we were trying to keep costs down, even though we had to come to council for almost triple the amount of budget that was available at the time. So we had to be quite brutal in what we cut off to not have to come to council with an even larger amount. Yeah. So.
I don't know, it's a good question that you've asked, Councillor Roll, because, you know,
Sorry?
it's a good question that you've asked.
Yes, we need to be a bit more forward-looking on some of our infrastructure.
You know, I don't know, you know, it might be cheaper, but we just don't know how much cheaper it might be while the plant's there.
I guess from a business case point of view, for us, that's where it all starts. So the additional, we know that the strip, the top bit of the strip next to the sealed bit now will cost us about 400,000. We know that runway needs work, and then Councillor Rolf's, the the unsealed portion of the end, which is probably about another 400 meters or so if I just think about it. So when we add all of that up, that looks and smells like a few million, maybe, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe a million, 2 million sort of, if there's no issues there. And then we've got the rest of the 600 meters to do, so that doubles that maybe, I don't know. So the question becomes, that runway only being used by recreational users, where does the money come from? Council would know that we are very, we have to look at where we take resources from to reallocate. So should council want us to look into that, we're happy to. We can definitely come up with some number perhaps for future budget. The problem is the money. Where do we find the funding for it? We know that is the no.
Councillor.
Aren't we decommissioning runway 1533?
No, we
We've moved last one to Rondona.
I think it was the last time meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm just still in that process.
Yeah, oh, it wasn't at this meeting, it was at a general meeting.
Yes, through the chair, when this meeting occurred, that was prior to the previous council meeting. So at this point still, we took to finally decide to confirm the decommissioning or not to the advisory committee. They suggested that we put it through to council, which we did. So unfortunately, this minute is a bit old.
Well, Solomon, it sounds like a fairly significant project that you've just described, so it probably does need to be scoped up at some stage that
We can scope it up.
that we know to aware what it potentially looks like, and then maybe it's something that we might be able to get some funding for.
Can we ask that it be an action then that goes to, so that it's not lost off this agenda?
Well, it's really compliance issues, Solomon, I imagine you have to do it anyway.
We can. The report might. It won't take too long in the big scheme of things. When I say that, not a month or two, we'll have to go through the procurement process. So I can imagine that by the time we start talking about the 2021 budget, we can have a number on the table and the council can make a decision around that. So happy to do that.
Yeah, that'd be good, Solomon. And Solomon, I have a question in relation to the QEBS inspections. Like, do you know, is it an annual thing that they do, or is it just?
We have various kinds of, firefighting audits. Some of them come through and they look at the appropriateness of your building. Some of them come and look at the fire extinguishers and so the combat type of equipment to have around. This particular one was QFIS coming, and QFIS had a look at the infrastructure that they will have to engage with should there be a fire. So they were concerned about the amount of water the system could give. They were concerned about the location of the fire hydrants. There was a number of issues such as that. So what we're doing is we've gone out and appointed fire engineers. They came and they did a complete audit on the site. They found the pipes, they measured the pipes, they measured the water, they measured all the things that the law says, and they've gone back now. They've identified a number of shortcomings, and what they're busy doing is they are doing engineering designs on how do we fix it, so that we don't have just a report saying we need more reports. We actually have engineering drawings, so I can go to a contractor and say, build me that. and then it'll be fixed, else we're swimming in the reports and not much happens.
So that becomes a compliance issue for us.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got no budget for that, I noticed, so I guess
No.
you'll have to bring that back to us.
Yes, so, yep, Maya's correct. The idea was because this is such an important thing, we did not at the time want to leave it for this year. So we actually started it last year and we found budget for the report to be done last year. However, because it's such an open-ended thing, as an example, if we need to replace all the fire lines because the current ones can't take the pressure, that will be a very significant project. If they come back and they say, no, it's just the locations that are wrong, that is not such a significant project. So we endeavour to come back to council probably in October, and by that time we'll have a good idea of how much it may cost to fix, and that might be a very small amount, or it might be a larger amount.
All right, we'll look forward to that in October, Solomon. Thank you. Any other questions for Solomon on that matter? If not, would somebody like to move receipt of those airport advisory committee meeting minutes? Thank you, Councillor Nixon, and second, Councillor Daniels. All in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Solomon. Great report. So you're still in the hot seat there, Solomon. We'll move into the departmental updates, airport quarry sale yards and property services. So I'm handing over to you next.
Thank you. Councillor, so the next item will span the airport, the quarry, the sale yards and property services. I'll take the report as read, but in broad, as I alluded to earlier, the airport, there's no safety and security items outstanding. From a financial point of view, the airport is doing very well. It's just about met its financial income budget and as well as its expense budget, very close to the budgeted numbers. From a passenger point of view, very similar to the budgeted amount, which of course then flows through to all the other numbers. The project that was in train at the end of this reporting period were done within those budgets allocated. So from a budget financial point of view, it was all as we hoped. So that was all very good news. And then of course we started planning for this financial year's financials and projects. And some expenses there, such as the little entrance, the plants are still coming. But from a financial point of view, there's not anything particularly wrong there or that needs very special attention unless council has questions. From the quarry point of view, the quarry had strong sales again. The number there for the month was 19,000 tonnes. The quarry, in fact, ended the year just shy of 200,000 tonnes, which was a brilliant result. We think that's the Shepton quarry. Mangabanga did 10,000 tonnes, which is also for the financial year, which is also very good. We thought the obviously with the mining boom picking up, I shouldn't call it a boom, the mining activity picking up, we can start seeing the inquiries coming through, and from a financial point of view, that bodes well for future numbers. The capital project of the quarry, from a financial point of view, is all completed at the end of the period, and again in line with the budgets. From a financial performance point of view, the earnings was slightly underneath the budget by about 74,000. Revenue was slightly ahead, and I guess that shows the variableness in the quarry business, where there's larger projects attract additional interest and put pressure on pricing. The campaign crashing works well. So from a quarry point of view, from a quarry financial point of view, we're quite proud of the quarry, especially if we go back a couple of years and we put it on a graph how things have improved over time. We're hoping that in the future that will be a continuing trend. The sale yards from a financial point of view also on track, or was on track at the time of this report, and that is, I guess, a double-edged sword. Of course, when there's difficult situation, especially with the weather for the farmers, and then they destock, and that's not a good thing and a sad thing sometimes, but it does push the numbers through the sale yards. So the sale yards was, I guess, did do well from that. The capital projects for the sale yards, that had electrical pits and the additional double-decker ramp. The double-decker ramp was awarded and the work was about to start, and the work will start next month. And the electrical pits, that was completed. So that was good to get that off the ground. Then, as council would be aware, we've got the hay shed for the sale yard. The hay shed is predominantly there, I guess, as a commercial asset to assist us in driving additional income. There was also the light pole replacement and the drafting facility that's now the ProWay draft that's fully operational. From a financial performance point of view, the sale yards had numbers very close to the budget. The operating revenue was 3% over, and the operating expenses 6% over. So those numbers cancel each other out. But again, it shows that I guess it reflects the fact that there was very tough weather for the farmers out there this year. So with the rain on now, and hopefully expected that we've had, we suspect that the numbers will be depressed or reduced for a little while as the farmers fatten up and rebuild their stocks. So, but the sale yard is not necessarily in control of that. So that's something that we just want to highlight. We'll have to look out for as the year progresses, especially the first half of the year, while the farmers fatten up again. From a property service point of view, there was a number of inspections done, tenants moved in and out, leases finalised, maintenance, for smaller maintenance works were done, and those were done within the budget. So from a financial point of view, those are all as we suspected in the budget. There was a couple of new tenancies, residential tenancies, and a number of properties were vacated as just in the normal, I guess, turnover of the tenants and the market. There was a number of bigger issues that the department concluded or finalised during the month, such as the Telstra lease or the Nogoa Rise Estate auction confirmation. So those are big ticket items that we're very proud of having delivered within the time frame. And then there's an ongoing issue of the Blackwater Mine Workers Club transfer to council. That took up significant time. However, that lease is on its way to be signed. It might actually be signed as we're sitting here. So from that point of view, those issues are now no longer on our to-do list. The Blackwater Mine Workers Club lease will take up additional time. That lease actually runs out at the end of the month, and from that point of view, after that lease had a number of requirements on council. Not all those requirements have actually been completed, so there's a body of work to be done there between us and the department, and some of the impact of that work may very well end up being financial. So we want to highlight that from a financial point of view. The department is slightly better off than budgeted and expected, and from a cost point of view, more or less in line. There's a 7% difference in revenue there, and the expenses was 11% shy of the budget for the year. I think if there's specific questions, I can try and answer them. Else, the reports are so big and comprehensive that I can go on for a long time.
Just through the chair, going back to the auction sale on the 16th of August, just wondering how valuations have gone in that area since we tried to do auction before. Have they come down or gone up?
I can take that on notice, Councillor. Unfortunately, I am not across the market movements, the current valuations versus the older valuations. So I can take that on notice.
I don't want figures. I just like to know any fluctuations in that area. Like, no.
We do see a general pressure, I guess, coming back. So how that has translated or is translating into actual amounts that people are willing to pay, but there's a general sense of optimism, I guess, around, and that in general has pushed. We can see it on the rental side, but for these specific properties, I can take that on notice, Council.
Thank you.
You probably don't know the answer to this one, Solomon. In relation to 20 Planet Street, Rolleston, the old SES building in Rolleston. There's been a request from the community to use that for something else other than emergency services. And I note that in the report, but you don't know what the purpose is? Just storage? Or?
No, unfortunately, I'm not across every property. But I can get council a list of properties.
Just generally, are we allowed to just do that? I know that I've been approached by different parties at different times expressing an interest in utilising that building for something else. So I'm just wondering, should we be putting out expressions of interest first before we do?
I know the property team does have a plan for it and a process around that plan. Generally, when we get expressions of interest or members of the community expressing that they would like to purchase the house next door or some specific process, we do have an internal process to make sure that is it within our plan? Is there another plan somewhere maybe communities may have, or that's applicable to that piece of land? So my suggestion would be is if they could put it in writing to us, and then what we do is we've got a working group with the planning department and property and planning get together and sit and discuss these things, and they go with communities over the various properties, and where the council perhaps has a future allocation for those properties and take it from there. Unfortunately, every case is unique, We are building up a strategic land acquisition and disposal strategy, and that identifies specific properties for specific purposes, either now or in future. So that's another piece of the puzzle that we're currently busy doing. We are hoping to have that done by the end of the quarter, and then actually come to council and present that to council in draft form. And that would greatly assist, we feel, council to make decisions about specific properties, but also then coming back to the organisation to lead us when we get these requests.
So through the chair, just, you know, what the approved use is at the moment?
No, unfortunately not. I'll take that on notice.
Yeah, because like that whole block there would be ideal future residential. Be a shame to, you know, let somebody put sheds or something there and kind of, it would ruin that whole block. So, yeah, just a thought that, and you say it's coming back, so that's good.
Yes, the planning scheme, we have to be guided, I guess, by the planning scheme.
Yep.
But we do think that that strategic piece of work that I was referring to would be very, very valuable, because depending on council's reaction to that, that might have impact not just for the property department, but actually for the planning scheme and all the other things that hang off that, where we might bypass, where we allow people to put up fences, all sorts of other things. So,
Well, my only comment was, I'll just give an example. Like I had a community group committee saying that would be a great spot for a community gym, and I'm not sure where that idea is at, but I'm just saying, if we don't promote as opportunities, we might miss out on the highest and best use of that facility if we don't. So, you know, to use it as a storage facility, I'm all for these things being used, but is that the highest and best use? And I just, it'd be nice if we can have a transparent process for these things. That's my own comment to that.
if I could suggest perhaps that if we could get the various limbs of council together, perhaps with council in one of the strategy sessions after that doc has been created, so that we have the property people, the people that get the property and they must do something with it, the people that decide what can happen in the property, then the future planning people and council in a room to discuss large swathes of land, but perhaps specific locations to, of course, the people in the back are working on documents that they are being given. I think it will be good if we could perhaps have everyone in the room and they can interact and engage directly.
I sense a future strategy item. Next one. And, you know, big shout out to Steve Williams, you know, the work that he's doing in relation to property services. Like every time we get a report here, there's a lot of activity, and I know for a long time, sort of struggled to get a lot happening in this space, and it's really refreshing to see things that have been sitting there for so long getting ticked off.
I'll definitely take that.
Doing a great job.
Deputy Mayor, I'll put a plug for that department. They are short staffed. They only got that department up halfway through the year, so they've only had six months, and there was a considerate backlog to work through. So we expect great things of them, and they are delivering. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Councillors, any other questions in relation to that report?
Through the chair, just one comment about the airport. It's sad to see the numbers declining still. Is that, you know, because of the cost of fare, or?
The numbers are slowly, unfortunately there's no graph here, but the numbers of course came down, and then it starts making this I don't want to call it a flat, but we're just about on the bottom of the flat. So it's slowly, I don't want to say trailing down, but the rate of descent has decreased significantly. So where we used to lose about double numbers of percentage points a year, we are now down to like about 1% or 2 a year. So we definitely expect that to be very close to the bottom. The airport, the per person average cost of operating the airport is lower than the current cost, meaning that we can reduce significantly more and still maintain the airport. It doesn't look by the rate of decline that we'll come close to even approaching those sorts of numbers. With the new mines opening and the general pickup, even the recent rain, you can see that those various factions, whether it's the resource workers, the business people, the locals, or the market that's driven by agriculture, is starting to come back. So we're hoping that that is that this is the beginning of the end, or the end of the end of the drop. The sensitivity to the pricing, we don't believe that's got something necessarily to do with it. The airlines are fairly profitable flying here, and the fare costs are well below the break even to actually take a day off, travel to Brisbane and stay overnight there for 2 nights and come back, which is the benchmark that the airlines use as their, I guess, as the opportunity cost when you decide whether you're going to fly or drive. So we're way below that cost. So even if council decides, say, to drop $1 or 2 or 10 of the passenger fee, it's unlikely that that's going to translate into significant increase in passengers. For the most part, people fly because they have to, not because it's cheap.
Yeah, there's 120,000 less than 2012-13, so
Yes.
it's significant.
Yes, no, the construction boom does, when that comes off, it does take a whack out of the numbers. But it's the same numbers that would have been picked up before you end up losing when it's all done.
Okay.
Councillors, any other questions? And, well, if someone's happy to move receiving that report, move Councillor Robb, second Councillor Nixon, all in favour? That's carried, thank you very much. We receive that report. All right, infrastructure and utilities. Julie, how are you going? There's been a lot of noise blowing. I'm just wondering if he's going to make it through the meeting, but look, it is great because it's sick as you are. I know you weren't here yesterday, you had the day off, so you could come in the rush for today. I really appreciate it. Mate, I'll hand over to you to guide us through this infrastructure and utilities
Thank you.
update.
So through the chair, relatively quick one this morning. Just the end of financial year capital snapshot there. A lot of the projects were complete. What we'll do is we'll provide an overall financial year report once we've got all the data at hand, and once all the accruals are finished, which is at the end of this week. In general, the other ones that were not at this stage was Rugby Road, which I initially mentioned last meeting we would have to defer, and Silica Road, which is ongoing at the moment. We're halfway through, a little bit over halfway through that project. There's some rain delays, which everyone's familiar with that area. It gets pretty wet, so the nature of that job. Comet drainage issue upgrade was complete, and happily to say I drove through there Saturday morning. After the rain, there was no water at the corner, so success there. Yes, yeah. There's some additional seal needed there, just on the approach, which we'll go back and tidy up. Over to maintenance. upgrade, maintenance update. So just some work that was completed in June. And some work that's planned for July. And some maintenance grading there on a few roads, which are listed. And just another to highlight initiative we've recently done. So a gravel additive was used for grading Killamit Road, so 6 k's of Killamit Road, so we're trialling a new product there. Killamit traditionally falls apart pretty quickly after we grade it, goes to corrugation. So just looking for other opportunities and a product that will work and give us some cost savings. So it's a good result. Although at the moment it's handling that pretty well.
Sorry for the chair, with that additive, what's the expected likely benefit from that?
Usually, depending on the cost, like I don't have the cost of this particular product, but the cost will try and save you 1 or 2 maintenance grades. So Killamit, from memory, I think we do it about 4 times a year. So if we can drop it back to 2 times a year and has still have a cost saving by adding the product, then it's a success.
Yeah, for everyone.
It's not a product that you put it down and you forget about it. You still have to get it back and maintain it.
Okay.
And Jason, we haven't used that particular product anywhere else. Is this one, is it first?
We haven't. Other shires, so Isaac Regional Council have used it a fair bit. The supervisor that is trialling it has used it previously with other councils, so a good opportunity there to share some learnings from others and take advantage of that.
Do we ever, let's go on for Andrew down there, Dan, like, do you think this is a really smart thing to do? I just think it's like an opportunity also to, people will be interested generally in the community that, we're looking for smart and innovative solutions to problems, particularly around roads and road maintenance. I reckon it's just opportunities when you're doing something like that for the first time. I suppose if it doesn't work well, it's probably you probably don't really want to talk about it. But if it does hold up, I think those sort of stories are worth sharing. But,
and through the chair, I guess as long as you set the expectation, it's not a picture and seal that you put down and it's going to last forever. So when it does deteriorate, even if that is 12 or 6 months time, that's what we expect it to last. That sometimes causes a bit of confusion.
yeah.
So, Jason, just comparing it to the work that you did on the Springfield Tambo Road with that hole.
Yep.
Yeah. So does it compare at all because that didn't really last very long either.
Well, again, that's the difficulty that did what we expected it to do. So it lasted about 12 months.
Yeah.
On that road, to not have to grade a section of the Tambo Road for 12 months and still be okay is a good result. And that's that expectation of what the product does. So, to give you the figure, if it costs $4 a square metre to put down, it costs you $3 or $2 to maintain per square metre a maintenance grade. If you save 2 maintenance grades, you break even. So if you save 3, it's a cost efficiency at the council. So that's the difficulty. Every road's different. Every soil type that you put it into is different. So different performances on different roads.
Yeah, and I guess what we talked about is trying to save water, so by not having those maintenance grades, you're achieving that as well.
Yeah. So through the chair, there's probably other opportunities. We'll try this product on different roads, different soil types. There's probably opportunities there to work with the comms team to
Smart council looking for smart solutions, anyway. Yeah, look, even if it doesn't achieve exactly what you want, but that agenda you go, I think it's great.
Thank you. And the last one from me, I was lucky enough to attend a study tour with the NHVR in Hobart. The Tasmanian Department of State Growth is developing a website for heavy vehicle movements, particularly around their cranes, expanding that out to other heavy vehicles. So Central Highlands was given the opportunity to attend that with 3 other local governments. So we went down We had a workshop there for a day and looked over their system, and basically with the NHBR, it's a concept to roll out the same in Queensland. There's a lot of benefits. One benefit is consistency across the whole of the state for the industry, so they know what their potential movements are. But even in terms of if they're looking at purchasing a new piece of plant or a new vehicle, they can go into the system, type in the specifications of that vehicle, and it will give them a map of every road that they can travel on. So it lets them make better business decisions rather than hit with conditions after the fact. So there's a lot of benefits. So the NHBR has got some funding for a trial pilot project, and they've invited us to be part of that. So with the assets department, we're currently gathering some data to upload into the basic assessment program that they use, and that's the first part of the trial. See how long that takes, how mature councils are, us and the other 3 councils that are participating, and what investment is needed to get us up to that level of maturity that we can have on the data. That works in well with the asset management data pickup that's currently underway, and there may be opportunities where we can seek funding for the NHBR to supplement some of the stuff we're already doing as part of that pilot. So a good outcome.
And congratulations, Jason, on being selected to represent our council in that forum. I think you would have been a great ambassador for not only us but our region, and I'm sure you added a lot of value to the conversation, so well done.
Yeah, obviously Central Highway was chosen because we have so many vehicle movements, heavy vehicle wide loads, the number of permits that go through the system. Us and Isaac probably play a key part in that system. So.
And Chair, the ongoing, it'll be part of the Roads and Transport Congress in South Australia too, so it will be highlighted there. For regions.
And so how long is that pilot project expected to run for, Jason? What's the time frame on that?
Yeah, through the chair, there is a bit of a brief back here. It doesn't actually go into timeframes, but it's the first the pilot stage is just collecting that data, and then running through the system to see how mature our data is, and what it takes for other councils to do the same. So it's not a significant period of time. I would expect by the end of the year that all councils will be up to that stage.
Yeah, that's good. Councillor Nixon.
Just a few things, like, just a comment first. Once your Tambo Road completed, I wish. Just also, what's happened, we talked about Crumb Tyres a lot about 12 months ago. Has anything happened?
Through the chair, so there's been several discussions at the regional road group around utilisation of crumb rubber in seals and also other opportunities with crumb rubber. We haven't actually done any trials, so Isaac Regional Council, as part of that road group, had a discussion there. They put out a tender for crumb rubber. They awarded that tender, and the company that was successful in that tender couldn't provide the level of service that they were after. So what was happening was that the crumb rubber was being put in private Townsville, and by the time it got to the job site, it was separated in the bottom of the tank. So until that company could provide an on-site mixing plant, they decided to step away from that trial. So we continue to work with them and looking at opportunities next year's reseal program, whether we could do a joint tender with the reseal program to both us and Isaac to crumb rubber and have an on-site mixing plant with them.
Yeah, you're talking about the kind of local road groups, and I think the Western Queensland people, through the Mayor would agree, I think they were all keen to be part of that, weren't they?
Yeah, there's a couple of, through you, Madam Chair, there's a couple of issues here. Is that the product that necessarily would be the best benefit. The group that addressed the farm-based road transport group talked about the sort of aggregate that's required generally And then some of that can be, I guess you'd say, a dry mix and added. And other, I suppose, the more readily usable product is actually then mixed in solution in a big tanker. And of course, then it's problematic around the separation in solution if it's travelling a distance. And the second thing is nozzles and the evenness of the sprays that comes out of the rig. This is way more information than I ever wanted to know about spraying, I can assure you. But it's probably, what I've highlighted is this is a very simplistic problem, but I mean, it needs to, the quotes generally were uncompetitive because of the distance of freight involved. I think the thing we asked for was the opportunity of creating the crumb at least on site in situ, so that we could actually utilise the raw material, which is the tyres. And I see, as recently as last week with the Paddington Port tour, that the companies that are actually looking at doing logistics into the region are actually got high top containers to take tyres away. So it would seem crazy to me that that's an opportunity they see where we could actually crunch tyres here. So I think if there was a little bit of direction needed here was the investigation of potentially is there enough quantity to justify a company coming here and stockpiling crumb rubber and have it logistically located here? Is that the right place for it? Or it could be here, it could be somewhere, but I mean, just getting it closer, so I suppose at least in terms of the difficulty of creating the emulsion, that it can be not so separated, it's actually on site or it's a shorter distance. So I guess the invitation would be, and I suppose looking at the cost, would be to say, look, if you're prepared to set up a pilot plant, I think that's the words we used, about being in Central Highland, Central Queensland somewhere, it might be that there's a cost involved, and certainly to get to here so that at least the crumb was on site. So I wasn't sure whether that's where that company left off, whether they were prepared to do that or not.
The company that we were talking to at all our conferences and things is, they said, yes, we can now move the construction part of the crumb rubber, but it's basically all in the southern states still. So their equipment, so that's where do you say that it's been good that there's been a trial by, but not by us, to show what basically what needs to happen is that we need to get the equipment up here, and if then a group of guys can get together on, or a group of road groups, and we'll it'll be cost benefit. I mean, well, it might be cost neutral, but it'll be a
benefit.
Be a way to go.
Yeah, well, it's getting rid of waste as well. That's
Well, it is. I mean, that's what we've always banged on about, but it's just getting the equipment here, I think, is the thing.
Yeah, can you just mix it on site, like?
Well,
import
see, you've
both
done it before, Jason, haven't you? You've had crumb rubber on roads up here.
Through the chair, we haven't, no.
Isaac,
Isaac,
yeah, Isaac.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I had a couple more things. What's the state of the Cobbeston Road?
Through the chair, I haven't actually personally travelled it recently. It would have been inspected within the last month. No significant abnormalities compared to normal.
Have some of those dangerous spots been corrected at all?
I'll have to take that on notice, councillor. I couldn't tell you. So it would have undertaken regular maintenance grades in line with the RPC contract. There's been no significant changes to the alignment or any specialised treatments other than regular maintenance grades due to the budget constraints for the RPC. There has been, I'll double check, but I know there's been some comments around some shoulder drop off, edge drop off. I'm not sure whether they were funded or not for correction. Again, I can back on those.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Just also, what's happening with funding like the Willies Creek and the Tambo Road? Have we heard anything further?
again, through the chair, no, we haven't had any. We have written to Department of Transport and Main Roads, seeking their comment on the Tambo Road, additional funding is required from them. We haven't received anything back that I know of just yet. And Williams Creek, I don't believe we've received anything official yet from the federal government.
Yeah, because like, you know, we had that put to council back in 2017 about like 3 million coming, was it 3 million we applied to building better regions? And then it was kind of 500,000 from us and 500,000 from the ratepayers there. So that's, you know, nearly 3 years old, that report. I'm just wondering, you know, how far is it going to go now, or do we take any steps to do anything yet?
Through the chair, I believe our plan of attack was to wait until we receive something from the government stating what the conditions of that funding are, and then bring that to council and have a discussion whether whether that treats the original scope, or whether the scope changes, or whether we seek additional funding to do the original scope. So that'll be a discussion once we have the funding conditions laid out from us.
Yeah, because we've kind of lost the opportunity to special rate in this time. So, yeah, it's just a problem with timing.
Yep. So we'll bring that to council once we're aware of
Thank you.
those conditions. I'll then over to Peter and our order.
Good morning, councillors. Just 3 quick things in my update this month. So, middle of the month, I attended the Water Directorate TRG meeting, which is usually attended by the CEO, and gave a sort of quick update of how the urban water pricing process with Sunwater has progressed. What would have been a week later, with Kirsten Byrne and myself, attended a meeting with Isaac Regional Council where we looking at opportunities for knowledge sharing, collaboration in both the waste and water areas. And we've also attached a copy of the water industry snapshot report, which is done every 2 years by the Water Directorate. And when you look through that, it's continuing some of the trends that have been shown previously in our industry of particularly the ageing workforce, which is showing that decreases in the people in the industry under 30, and particularly increasing, moving up into that 60 plus age band. It's something like 35–37% of the wastewater treatment operators are over 50 in the industry as a whole in Queensland. And particularly is showing that the wastewater treatment operators, the shortage, not just in regional Queensland as a whole, and actually Australia as a whole, is one of those key skill shortages in the country.
How do they use that report? Because I mean, it is a bit of a concern, and I mean, it's no surprise to you to read what's within the report, but it is quite alarming to think that a big percentage of the current workforce is, in the medium term, just potentially might exit the industry, and then we've got this big gap.
It is a concern, and I guess this information it also reflects the work done by LGAQ as well. They've done a report recently, which is showing that same sort of shortages. So the Queensland Water are one of our lobbying bodies that are input into the national strategy, EEP strategy, and so there's lobbying that information is fed into state and federal training organisations or departments.
So just through the chair, are we doing something like putting on apprentices in the plumbing industry or anything like that to try and build our own here.
So we have one of our network team doing a plumbing apprenticeship at the moment, and we do have a trainee in the treatment area at the moment, so we see how those progress.
So could we up the ante in that?
Well, we, I guess the CEO's supportive, always gone for have got a decent number of our trainee budget for the last 2-3 years. So we've usually had 1 or 2 trainees in our department.
And through the chair,
The plumbing is an area that we're always short, isn't it?
Yes, but in terms of what we do in the network area, a plumbing qualification is not needed for a lot of the work, but it is a skill that we do need.
so through the chair, I was going to speak about Margaret here, even with the workshops, the reliance on supervision of apprentices in terms of having a direct one-on-one supervision with a qualified tradesperson as well can often be hard. With the number of plumbers Peter has, you probably can't have too many.
Yes, I know it's a problem, but it's something that we probably need to look at closely because we need these people forever. So it's not going to go away, the problem of the shortage in that area.
I guess holistically through council, again, the people plan that I'm currently working on is investigating the part of sharing knowledge and stuff like that. So plenty going on in that. Retention of staff and trying to upskill them.
And through the chair, there's also the expansion of the school-based traineeship program. When I say expansion, the establishment of it, we haven't had that prior to this year. So we're hopefully looking at that as a way to supplement the standard apprenticeship program. I think school-based traineeships is very critical to fill that gap that we've been experiencing. So.
Okay.
And Pete, just one other question that I had in relation to the report when I flicked through it. That figure 11, which shows the qualifications held by operators and employees, and I don't know what qualifications you need, but would you say that because a lot of people that hold a certificate 3, is it 3?
Yes, well,
In water, like what I'm saying is that the right mix of qualifications? Like, or are there gaps in qualifications, or?
the Cert 3 is really what we want as the minimum of what a water treatment operator has, and that's what we are putting our people through, is getting the Cert 3 as the ones that don't have it.
Yeah, so in terms of those other qualifications, are there gaps though, or you've got, what I'm saying is, have you got enough suitably qualified people? I know this is a snapshot, a bit broader than us, but or do you just have to make do?
Well,
is it a worry in the future that they're going to be just, well, what I'm understanding the report is finding the suitably qualified operators, and it might be at specific levels outside the Cert 3, it might be harder to find.
yes, and what we've had to do, I'm sure it's like everyone else, is we have difficulty. There are only a certain number of people who have got the Cert 3, so we employ people as assistants or operators and then put them through the Cert 3 training. So we have, I think it's 3 or 4 going through at the moment.
No, it's a very interesting report.
And hand over to Kim.
Morning, councillors. Just a very quick one from me today. We released our expression of interest documents for the detailed business case of the Capricorn Highway upgrade. Closed on the 28th of June. Sent it to 9 people and got 4 responses back. We've recently completed the review of those 4 responses. We'll take 2 then forward to, we'll send requests for tenders out to those. The intention is that the tender documents are released on Friday, closing early August. And at this stage, we have a planned commencement date of mid-September, with the business case to be completed by May 2020.
It's lucky you haven't got a lot to get through, Kim, by the sound.
I know you're a joke.
Lucky it's a short report today. Do you need water? Are you right?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Compliments.
Thanks, Kim. Look, it's like you've got cracking on that really quickly, so I mean, we've only,
Sorry.
I said you've got cracking on this really quickly, so.
Gerard actually started the process in about April.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is really rolling along, and I think it's each phase of developing a business case is so long. Even pushing it as we have, it's May before we get it back, so with reviews and consultation and everything else.
Any questions, councillors, on that one? That's good. Well, colleagues, thank you for the update, Kim and Peter, as usual, and Jason. The recommendation is there that we received that departmental update for June. Is that someone having a read, or would you like me to pass it? You got it while we switch. Second, councillor Roll. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, we don't have any closed session items. Did anyone have any general business that they wanted to raise?
Only the GIS system, I would be bringing that up in leadership and governance.
In what context?
Yeah, through the chair.
Just a report on how we're going, how it's going to mesh in with the Tech One program. Overall, have we got enough people working on GIS? Just how it's going overall.
Through the chair, I can quickly respond to that, or so I'm happy to bring the report back to leadership and governance if you would like, on how it's actually being integrated with the Tech One solution. So it is part of the phase 1 rollout. It is very different to our current platform. It's not Esri based, so there will be a change, like with everything with Tech One, and there'll have to be some quite specific education and awareness for that, not just for the people who are the key users, but for councillors as well, who obviously actively use that mapping platform at various times. In terms of number of staff, so it has been reasonably successful in terms of what I would call as the sausage factory aspect of requesting maps within the organisation. So we have a successful model where we've outsourced that to Shepherd Services, and any of those requestable maps are turned around in a very efficient manner to a high quality. In terms of then internal capability, staff being able to be more self-sufficient in accessing and being able to, I suppose, what would be the word, challenge or use our current platform. We've had a drop-off in that with staff turnover, not just within corporate services, but within the overall organisation. So people that have the right skills and the capability to be able to use the power of our GIS have left the organisation, so that's left a gap. And then there's a heavy reliance on a couple of technical people within corporate services to actually do that other high level of GIS, not integration, but interrogation, for want of a better word. So it is an issue, but I'd say from an organisation perspective, I haven't, through in my previous role and in my current role, there haven't been people jumping up and down saying it's completely broken. So it hasn't been, through the chair, Councillor Brewer, an absolute focus for me, because my understanding is we're meeting expectations adequately. It's probably not the best we could do, but and we're waiting obviously for those planned efficiencies when we roll out Tech One. in that space. But I'm happy to bring back a formal report on that.
Did you want something recorded in the minutes? Councillor Burwell in relation to that request? Probably should,
Plus this,
yeah, just,
but I said you'd probably better captured in leadership and governance, so.
okay. All right, well, thank you for raising that, councillor Burwell. So no other general business, councillors? Councillors, the meeting is closed. At, what is the time? 9:45. 9:45, Lisa, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And Lisa, champion it once again. Meeting agenda's out on May Thursday?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. I did start with a T. Tuesday, Thursday, it was super early anyway. I remember I did email you and say, wow. Thank you very much. So, councillors, a little bit of, like half an hour before the next meeting.